Okay, Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday, May 31st, 2025, a little after 10 a.m. So let's get started and see if we have any questions or any comments, observations, anything from this week. Hope your week went well. Nothing? Anyone?
I want
Oh,
to go ahead.
oh, I was just thinking about the week, the situation with Elon Musk I thought was interesting, and I think I just see that as spiritual. I just can't put my finger on what's going on with that. But anyway, and I was wondering if anybody had any comments or any insight into that situation.
Um, you're talking about the supposedly rift between Trump
Yes,
and Elon.
yes.
I don't really see a rift between them at all, because if it was, then um, Elon would not have been in the Oval Office. Plus, Elon is too arrogant to allow that to happen, especially when he has spent $250 million to buy presidents. Um, I look at that and I search for the spirituality, not just in that, but in so many other things that's happening. And not to get away from your question, Ron, however, to mention the um, the idea of all people of color being um, deported, and the scale that they would like to deport people of color is beyond their capabilities. However, I do believe that people of color are being forced to recognize that we are one. And when I say we are one, I'm talking about we are seen as one group of people, and none are going to get any benefits beyond the others. Um, and when I look at ourselves as African people, I also see that the cry that's out there for African people to come together as one, and this cry is coming primarily from the continent of Babylon or Africa. And I also believe that the reason the people of color uh, being deported in numbers and being treated the way they are is because they've always felt like they are better than the African, always. Um, the, the people in this country, all the people in this country, as well as on this earth, but especially in America, are going to cry out for deliverance even more so. And that deliverance, the expectation of the source of that deliverance is the African. And we will not falter, of course, when it comes to that. There was something else I wanted to say in regards to that that slipped my mind. However, if there are questions or further comment about your question, I yield right now till I gather my thoughts again. You're muted, Ron.
No, I was just thinking about what you said. I agree with you. I think there's something spiritual there though that we haven't seen yet. At least I haven't seen, and that's all. Because usually stuff like that doesn't grab my attention like that.
Um, is there anyone else before I speak again? When Kwame Nkrumah sought to bring Africa together as one nation state. And what I mean by that, for those who may not know what a nation state is, during the course of the Kushite kingdom, there were not states like different states in America. There were nation states, and each state had their own governor. I'm sorry, governance, and it was governed by a king, and there was one central location and one spokesman for all of the kingdom of the Kushites, and that spokesperson came to be known as Pharaoh. When Nkrumah attempted that, it did not come to fruition, and there was not a cry from Africans in the diaspora for all of us to come together. Neither was there an organizational structure to support what he was trying to do, even though he made every effort to organize it with the meeting in Ethiopia. Now is different. And the difference is that the unification of Akabalon is coming from a young man. However, the cry is different and more effective now than what it was when Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah attempted to do it. The reason that it is more powerful now is because of communications. It is a lot easier to communicate instantly through social media, and that's one of the main sources that's being used in order to unify Kabylon. Got to check my source again on this, but
I guess interrupt you for a minute. I guess I don't remember or don't know of the energy of in the past that you speak of. Was it like this? Because this man is not only reserves and keep his cool, but he's all about peace, even though a lot of things would probably rattle most people, they don't seem to rattle him. Was that the same kind of energy that you speak up with the other leaders who've made the attempt to do this?
yes, Patrice Lumumba, Kenneth Kaunda, Julius Nyerere, Sekou Touré, Kwame Nkrumah, all of those. They had the same goals. One of the other differences is that, other than communication, is that the lack of communication, the way it is now, gave rise to Europeans being able to keep Africans separate because there was greed involved with some of the leaders. And if the leader did not choose to take the bribe, they would make an attempt to destabilize the government. If they could not destabilize the government, then they got rid of the leader. And when they got rid of the leader, it was a blip on the news, and that was it. And the reason the leader was gotten rid of, according to the news, was because of instability in the country and a coup. And all of this was orchestrated by America as well as Europeans. Today, that is not happening that way, even though it there have been 19, if not more, assassination attempts on Ibrahim Traoré. Actually, the internet, I've read several places where the internet was actually brought into existence by Nigeria and was stolen. So that would not surprise me. Why not? Because Africa, Kabylon, has always been the center of life in this earth. And it wouldn't surprise me if the ancestors then guide them to bring into existence the internet for the express purpose of what we are experiencing right now. The groundwork having been laid for us to be able to do this. Like Twitter was developed by, I think it was someone in Cameroon or Chad, and it was stolen. So what I'm saying in essence is that the foundation of electronic communication, social media, had its genesis in Africa, and that's not me overstating the source of it at all. It's just a reality, and as a result of that, we are benefiting from it more than we ever thought we would. Elon Musk is trying to get Starlink into South Africa, and the response to that was no, because because he's not meeting the criteria for foreign business to operate in South Africa, and that same criteria is spreading all over Africa. And for those of you who have not made the link between spirituality and what we are talking about, I want to say to you, there is absolutely nothing that happens in this earth that does not have a spiritual link. We are not Elohim. We are not absentee landlords. We are uninformed landlord, meaning that we are just becoming coming to understand our position and presence in this earth on a broader basis than what has been in the past. Keep this in mind also, that we came from no one. Everyone came from us. Every person on the face of the earth, every group of people, be they Japanese, Chinese, Europeans, it doesn't matter. Aztecs, all of them came from us. We did not come from anyone. We are the genesis of every human on this earth. And being the genesis of every human on this earth, that means that, that says to us, or give us an idea as to why we are so spiritual. It's like all the spiritual essence is in Kabylon, and then the children of Kabylon began to travel around the world and has the genes to bring into existence different groups of people, then the further away you move from this genetic pool, the less spiritual you are. And the further you move away from the genetic pool, the less melanin that you find. And until it gets to the point where there is malachite but no melanin, and the enzyme that produces melanin doesn't exist. So I think we should look at ourselves in that light. Why? Because if we don't, then we're lying to ourselves. We have been lied to long enough about who we are or the spiritual essence of our being. So it's time for us to stop lying to ourselves just to make people feel good. When the reality of the children of the sun is that they are Elohim. We are indeed the gods of this earth. And that is explicit in the scriptures, of course, as well as historically. So when you talk about what's happening with Elon Musk and Trump and the whole cadre of ignorance, that has a direct connection to what's happening in the cable line. And the direct connection that it has is that this cadre of ignorance are catalysts that brought us to the state that we're in. And that catalyst was colonized Africa and continues to do that, but is coming to an end. The other thing that I would like to point out is that Africa was not the only colony. America is a colony. So the difference is that when when the Europeans got to America, what they don't want to talk about is that there were Africans already here, and they begun to destroy Africans who were already here. And of course, we talk about the Native Americans, but the Native Americans came from us as well. And if you look at the older photographs of Native Americans, you will see that they look just like us. And their their complexions did not begin to change until there was interrelationship between Native Americans and Europeans. So this whole gamut, this whole course of history, this whole course of spirituality is based solely on the genesis of the African. And if we don't know African history, then we will never know who we are as a people. And I don't just mean as a people in terms of being African, but I'm talking about as humans in this earth. Because if you don't know where you came from, you don't know who you are. If you don't know your history, you don't know who you are. And that is one of the primary purposes that we have been robbed of our history, or our history has been purposely hidden from us, because those who hide it know the power that we are. And the reason every effort has been made to keep Africans around the world separated, those on the continent as well as in the diaspora separated, is because the unification of that power that was placed in human bodies in Africa. When you bring that power together, the world has no choice but to change, because of not only the innovation, but the understanding of the wisdom that the ancestors grant us gives us the understanding or the awareness of the power that we are. And the power that we are is not for manipulation, it is not for control, it's for peace and harmony for humanity. I'm done for now. Questions or comments?
You
No
spoke of
questions?
you spoke of the diaspora, and it just reminded me of that latest video that you sent out, but the young African man talking about unity. And one of the things he says in that is we don't all have to agree on everything, just I can't remember his exact words, but he was talking to everyone, and the inclusiveness and the sincerity in his voice I thought was something special. Uh, where was he from? What land was he from? Do you remember?
Geographical location by country, I don't know, but
Okay.
I do know that he was birthed on the continent by
Yeah.
virtue of his words. So um, we don't have to agree on everything. Unity without uniformity is something that Imam Baraka used to say all the time. We can have unity without uniformity, meaning that we can be unified and and have differences of opinions or have difference in our understanding. Simply because we think differently, we speak differently, it does not mean that we are not unified, even though that has been one of the main things that's been pushed by the European mindset in order to keep us separated. The main goal is being one with the principles of Mayat. I remember when I was a little boy, I heard this a lot. You know right from wrong. You were born knowing right from wrong. You make choices. What does that mean? You know right from wrong. Were they saying that we were born with the principles of Mayat? Were they saying that? Or were they saying simply that we know right from wrong? So either way, it is my conviction that the adherence to the principles of Mayat is the unifying message of not just for us, the children of Akabalon, but for the whole world. And you don't have to memorize the principles of Mayat as the Ten Commandments were memorized. And the funny thing about that is when you read the principles of Mayat, they are understood clearly. When you read the Ten Commandments, they are very vague unless you do a word study on the Ten Commandments. And then if you do a deep dive, what you find out is that the Ten Commandments were written 2,000 years after Europeans came into the earth. So this whole idea of the Ten Commandments being given by God, air quotes, given by God for the purpose of guidance to humanity is a myth. These 10 commandments were extracted from the principles of Ma'at. The God who actually gave us the principles of Ma'at was the one who created us. And they came to us through our ancestors. The whole structure for life in this earth was transmitted to us through our ancestors. And to this day, that continues. And when I listen at Ibrahim, what I continuously hear him talking about the guidance of the ancestors, and the ancestors who he point to mostly is like Thomas Sankara, who was the president of Burkina Faso. Matter of fact, he named it Burkina Faso before his assassination in '87. So the return is more than what we talked about in 2019. The return is not necessarily a physical return. The return is returning to your roots, returning to a basic understanding of who you are, embracing the reality of who you were created to be, understanding that in order to free the continent from colonialism, it does not take weaponry to free it. The freedom is already there. The protection of that freedom requires weaponry for the moment. And the reason it does is because the adversary only knows how to steal, kill, and to rob. And that adversary is doing everything it can to do just that. So that's the only reason weaponry is needed. And there are those who talk about how the Chinese and the Russians are simply in exchange from one colonial power to another. That's not going to happen. Under no circumstances is that going to happen. Regardless of how they try to make it happen, it's not going to happen, because the awakening of the African soul also grants us the ingenuity to be able to avoid that by virtue of the wisdom that the ancestors are constantly feeding us. And when we see that the leadership in Africa is beginning to move closer and closer and expanding, and there are groups of leaders in Africa now who is speaking of the central location for the court system. The Supreme Court in Africa would be in South Africa, and in Ethiopia would be the governmental body, with Ibrahim being the spokesperson for Africa while establishing these nation states. So this type of unification is not going to permit that to be. The control of the resources in Africa will be under the governance of the African, and not by colonial powers. Questions, comments?
Can I add something? This is Cheryl. I'm moving around this morning. Grand Rising, everybody. What I have noticed over the past few months is the revelation of the European playbook. And it's revealing exactly how it all works, how the system is put together to keep Africa enslaved, and how they remove the physical chains and replace them with psychological, technical, mechanical chains, installing puppets to do their dirty work, using this latest general. I'm sorry, to see if I can get my, sometimes I get it to work and sometimes I can't. It's revealing at its very base that France and the United States have been consistently behind all the revolt, all the problems that are occurring, and that's the game plan. It's being revealed to everybody who will listen by people who are in position to know, people who have been installed in the UN, um, people who actually work with, I think it's called AFRICAM. Um, it's just coming out so that what they had hoped the media to turn against Ibrahim is blowing up in their faces. The fact that at the same time, I think the president's name was Ramaphosa was here and was humiliated by Trump, and I thought good enough for him. But what Trump did was to let everybody know exactly who he was, as if we didn't know, but the games that they're playing. Ramaphosa was very smart. He brought black and white folks to that meeting, and they were all upper echelon. They were all upper level, and they came to talk about partnership. Trump used that opportunity to embarrass and humiliate the man. What he did was to uplift the role of the United States in all the tumult and upheaval that we've seen around the country, around the world. It's not just Africa. And so what's happening is the most beautiful thing that I'm just grateful to live to see. And that is that we are all awakening. We are all coming into the knowledge of the emperor ain't got no clothes on. And these folks have been playing the game that we knew they were playing, we suspected, but it's been confirmed and affirmed that this is who they are. So when Trump offers to come to Africa, Ibrahim said, not interested. He sent representatives instead. Ibrahim said, okay, y'all go ahead and meet with him. I'm not going. So they shut the door. There are 10 other countries that have said no to the United States. And so it's just growing in such a magnificent way. And it's organic. That's what's killing them. They have come after Ibrahim over 20 times and they've failed. And that's nothing but God, that's nothing but our ancestors. And I have to believe that it's our collective energy that is contributing to the uplifting of our people. So it just, I just feel like in no small way can you think you're not contributing, that you don't have some responsibility, that you are contributing to the uplifting of our people. Because I know in my heart that we are making a difference, that you are making a contribution, that this struggle is real and it is being televised. And so, I say to you who sometimes feel discouraged, don't be discouraged by what you see. Be encouraged by what we know is right and what we know is going to happen. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. As a matter of fact, the best thing that could have happened to Ramaphosa is to come to America and be humiliated. Because the rank and file has been trying to get him to join with with President Ibrahim, and he wouldn't. However, when he left that embarrassing moment with Trump, he changed his mind. And I don't think he changed his mind because he wanted to. I think he changed his mind because he saw that he was not going to get any support from Trump. And what I mean by support is that his government was not going to be protected by America, whether it was through assassination or whatever, of people who were standing against him. He has fierce competition in the government for his position. And I can see the guy's face, but I can't remember his name, his primary opposition.
Malema.
Huh?
Malema.
Malema, yes, thank you. He's been pushed, he was pushed into a corner. So the question becomes, are the people going to trust that he's going to remain committed to the rising of Kabbalah? Or is he going to just play the game, hoping that the assassination is successful? It's interesting to watch because when you listen at it, it talks about Burkina Faso, Chad. I'm sorry, Burkina Faso, Chad, and Mali. When in essence, there are far more countries involved in this in the awakening of Africa than is being spoken of. The realization of it all is beginning to settle in to the mindset of Africans, meaning that the European mindset that we have embraced and lived with all of this time is beginning to dwindle, and we are shifting our focus more to the awakening of Africa. Now, and when I talk about the awakening of the African, it is the ancestors who have shaken us to awaken us. And I don't believe that we will ever fall asleep again. And I know that these words were spoken during the periods of as far back as I can remember reading about Patrice Lumumba and the other leaders of that time. I'm in a moment. I want to say something about Patrice Lumumba in a moment. But are there any questions or comments? Is all of this making sense, guys? You can come off of mute and say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just have a quick comment. This is Audrey, Grand Rising, everybody. I thought it was interesting that the president of France, Macron, made this little speech, and he said in the speech that that Burkina Faso had never said thank you to France, and that they should. And I was a little taken aback, right, because I thought Macron was a little better than that. But as Cheryl alluded to, yeah, they show their true colors. But so I kind of agree with her that yeah, they're showing their true colors. But I don't think Ramaphosa was necessarily embarrassed by um, his visit with Trump, because I think a lot of people saw it for what it was, and the fact that he he brought all these little pictures or whatever that were like generated from these far right accounts and whatever. And the media was quick to say that. So even though he tried to humiliate Ramaphosa, I don't think he pulled it off. But I think Ramaphosa was there to kind of feel things out, and now he knows that he's not going to get any support from the US. But I think he knew that all along. South Africa's never really gotten any support from the US. Um, from the apartheid government all the way up to now, they've gotten lip service, but they've never really gotten any real support from the US. So I think he knew that all along, and now he knows it for real. So it allows him to make some decisions that he may not have made until he knew that for real.
I don't think he was looking for that kind of support. I think he was looking for support to stay in power.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because Africa has never received, as you said, support from anybody else, really, other than to keep the thieves in power. And I think he thought that he would get that. But then when you said Macron said Burkina Faso never said thank you, it the same thing that Trump said about what was it that they never said thank you. So that's that European mindset. I'm gonna steal everything you got. I'm gonna try to kill you. I'm going to create a adversarial force to destabilize your government, and you're supposed to say thank you. That's asinine. Any other questions or comments? Patrice Lumumba was one of the most feared men in Europe and in America because of his wisdom and the support that he had from his people. And because he was so powerful, they had to make an example of him. I remember when I was in college in DC, Doug Moore and talked about he and Patrice Lumumba being friends. And when he talked about what happened to him, he always teared up. And what happened to Patrice Lumumba, as I said, was supposed to be an example so that others would not follow in his footsteps. And when you hear what happened to him, to me, it speaks to the courage of those who came after him. Patrice Lumumba's body was chopped up. This man was assigned to chop his body up and into little pieces. And then they took the pieces and burned them and scattered them And the only thing that was left was a tooth. And that man took that tooth with him back to Europe. And I think it was like last week or week before last that they got the tooth back. So what am I saying to you? When you think of the risk that you are taking, understanding that there are no boundaries to the brutality that men will bring your way in order to get their way and to make you an example to the rest of the leadership. Yet you still step into that arena knowing what the possibilities are. That speaks volumes to me. After they did what they did to Patrice Lumumba, the cry was so loud around the world, and the barbaric nature of the way they killed him, but was on the front pages around the world. And after that, I suppose they made a decision that they were not going to do that again, meaning that it's not that they didn't want to, it's that they didn't want people to see how barbaric they are and thought it would be more acceptable to begin destabilizing governments as opposed to slaughtering leaders who stood up against them. If you listen at some of the speeches of Patrice Lumumba and you read the accounts about him from people who knew him, you will see that Ibrahim is actually more like Patrice Lumumba than he is any of the rest of them. As far as his actions are concerned, he is more like Nkrumah and Gaddafi in terms of how he's treated the people and what he wants to do for the people. And one of the reasons I said that the leadership in Africa looks for support to keep them in power is because one of the primary foes of Ibrahim was the president of Uganda. And because of pressure from in the streets, he is, if not pretending, he is pretending to come around to join forces. However, based on his history and the length of his dictatorship, I doubt very seriously if anybody would trust him to be anything other than a puppet, parroting whatever they talk about in their meetings. So I also say that there is a different energy in the earth now than it was with Patrice Lumumba or the rest of the leadership. That energy in the earth now is sourced from this colony called America. I don't think is lost on anyone, at least it shouldn't be, that the most formidable group of Cabelonians are in America. When you consider that, sometimes there were only 20% of the people who were stolen from Africa and placed on ships, only 20% of them made it to this country. The rest of them died along the way. I believe it's for a reason. Understanding the European mindset and seeing what you're up against helps you to make decisions about your freedom. And the decisions that were made about our freedom was based upon European mindsets. And now it is not based upon a European mindset because the energy is different. I believe that we have played a major role in what's happening in Africa right now. I do not believe that there would have been Ibrahim with the power that he has if there had not been those of us who are the tip of the spear in seeking to bring peace and harmony to the earth. I believe that we have played a pivotal role in that, and we continue to play that role in that. I believe that the reality that we were chosen to be who we are is surfacing in the hearts of Africans around the world. I believe that wholeheartedly. I also believe that without our strong desires for the awakening, and we would not be able to be a source of protection for Ibrahim. And what I mean by the protection, I'm talking about the energy that we are and that we embrace. The unification of Elohim, the one yet many, becoming a chain of protection, a wall that separates assassins from the one who is to be assassinated. The wisdom that we have sought for years and now beginning to strongly embrace the wisdom of the ancestors is also playing a major part in what's happening in Africa. Keep in mind that there were people on that continent, born and reared on that continent, who had lost their way when it comes to embracing the ancestors. And the reason they lost their way is because of Christianity. And I do believe that when we begin to understand that Christianity was the enslaver and the supporter of slavery more than anything or any other organization other than Islam and Judaism, I do believe that that was an enhancement to this movement. When you consider that Saudi Arabia offered to build 200 mosques in Burkina Faso, and Ibrahim said, we don't need mosques. We need schools and hospitals. Him being a Muslim and turning down that offer speaks volumes. The idea that you never hear him talk about Islam. He simply talks about the ancestors. He talks about bringing our people to a place of not only self-awareness, but in independence, so that Africa can be what it was brought into existence to be, and that is the cradle of life itself. I'm done. Any questions or comments? Ron? You're muted. Questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Reb, earlier this week, I was asked a question by one of my friends, a co-worker. Watson, why is it that you all don't take advantage of the right to bear arms? And my response was, our defense creates our offense. We're taught to drive defensively. You all buy into offense And if you buy in the offense, you can't lose. So that was just my response to it. Yet just wanted to hear your perspective or the group perspective of why is it that the African American does not take full advantage of the right to bear arms? Thank you.
I did take advantage of it. When I walked as a Pan-Africanist and African nationalist, I was armed everywhere I went and was willing to use it at any point. However, to use arms to seek deliverance from the European mindset is saying that we are going to use the tactics of the European in order to subdue the European. Two wrongs does not make a right. We are givers of life, not takers of life. It is embedded in us. The technology of the melanin does not grant us the comfort of taking a life, even for our deliverance. In order for us to do that, we would have to think like Europeans think. See, Africa was not conquered because of weakness. There are those who believe that Cleveland was conquered because of weakness. That was not it at all. The reason that Cleveland was conquered is because of loving kindness. Columbus wrote in his diary about meeting the people in the Caribbean and how giving they were, how free-hearted they were, and they would give you anything. If you asked for it, they would give it. They will offer you things to make you comfortable. And the last sentence in his expressions about the generosity of these natives in that part of the world, the last sentence says that we can take 50 men and conquer all of them and take what we want. That's the European mindset. They're giving you what you want, but you rather take it. Now, when Europeans went into Africa, it was the generosity that conquered Africa. It was the kindness. Because you might say they were naive, but it was not naivete as much as it was being God. That's who we are. And it was taken advantage of. Now, do I think that it was taken advantage of because the Creator was slack? No. I think it was purposed to be that way. And the reason I say that is because, as I've said before, you cannot be Elohim if you don't create. And the one who brought us into existence created us in his image and likeness. And as I said, everything came from us. We came from the Creator. Every human came from us. And by virtue of them having come from us, it is up to us to create in our image and likeness. And created in our image and likeness has nothing to do with the color of the skin. It has everything to do with the mindset. When the Creator brought into existence us in his image and likeness, there was no physical appearance about that at all. It's about the mindset. So with that type of mindset and understanding that the principles of May are in our DNA, it is extremely difficult for us to respond in kind when we are murdered, when we are brutalized, when we are tortured, when we are enslaved. It's very difficult to do that because that's not who we are. And that is the reason I do believe that the continuous rebellions were not successful, because the tactics of the oppressor was being used as opposed to the tactics of life givers being used. Does that answer your question, George?
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about that? I just don't want anyone to think for a moment that the children of Cabelon was defeated because they were weak. It's all about loving kindness. And to try to win with a gun is no different than trying to bring about change in a system that was created to enslave you. The marches, the demonstrations in the streets, the legislation that was passed that had holes in it so that it would not be effective. Look into the legislative body to change things for us by people who enslaved us. It's never going to happen, just like it's never going to happen for us to free ourselves with a gun. It's not going to happen. Questions,
That just
comments?
needs to sink in for a minute, though. What you said about the Caribbeans and about the Cabelon, it was captured not because of softness or because of cowardness or whatever. It was overtaken because of love and kindness. That needs to sink in. That's kind of tough. So what we're doing now is changing the energy pretty much through that same love and kindness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that love and kindness was our doing because we had to create in our image and likeness, meaning mindset, not bodily, but mindset.
Yeah, you know, the Hallmark channel, they got the red arm.
Now that we are creating through love and kindness, changing the mindset, that tells me that we are able to function as Elohim more than ever before. I'm saying to you is this: we have more inherent power than you could ever imagine. We vacillate too much, and we and I don't mean this derogatory, but we bask in the comforts of life. And what I mean by comforts of life is that our material desires have not really abated. If we put as much focus on who we were created to be as we do on our bodies or on our desires materially, then we would be able to move through places without impediments, meaning that we will be able to change things in an instant. We are in the process of purging, but we must be more diligent about purging ourselves of this European mindset. There's this idea of being privileged and living in comfort is not all that it's cracked up to be. It really isn't. This idea of living in comfort, is it really comfort? Or is it more of us caring more about how we feel in the midst of our acquisitions, as opposed to how we feel in the midst of being who we were created to be? How strongly are we committed to that? Do we really, really believe that? Do we still say, well, if this happened, I'm gonna do this, or why this happening to me? Do we still say things like that, as opposed to making affirmations about who we are and what our purpose is, and of course, our purpose is peace. So what is our real objective? You know, what is our true objective when it comes to living the life in this body, being the life in this body, being the life in this earth? How committed are we to that? Are we still looking for a government to change its mind about us? Are we looking for a government to treat us a certain kind of way? Keep in mind that the stabilization of governments, the things that Macron said and the things that he was engaged in, are the same thing Biden did. Same thing Obama did. So we can't look for the government to do anything for us. Why? Because we are the government. We are the governing force in this earth. We are Mayat. We are the first on this earth. No one came before us. Everyone came after us. The commitment if the commitment is there, then we should begin to see a difference in us, the way we talk, the way we interact with people. How is it that we can be angry about things that's happening when we God? If you believe that you're Elohim, why does stuff piss you off? These things are happening to push you in a corner to be who you are. And when you begin to see the change, elimination of all of these adversarial governing bodies, then it will be because you have followed your commitment to be who you were created to be. Does that make sense? Come on, does it?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say some things that people have talked to me about. We need to be able to listen at Donald Trump, to listen at J.D. Vance, and it doesn't even bother us. Why? Because we know that it's not real. It is a catalyst for us. You know, when you were in school and kids would call you names, and the moment it didn't bother you anymore, they stopped calling you those names. Are you familiar with that? Of course you are. So that's the same principle that we have to apply to these adversarial governing bodies. It doesn't bother us. And when it stops bothering you, it ceases to be. But as long as it bothers us, we're giving life to it. The bully in school is going to mess with you continuously until you stop it. And when you stop it, the bully stops messing with you. But as long as you give life to it, it's going to happen. Does that make sense? We are better than that. We are Elohim. European mindset causes us to get upset with a European mindset that we don't agree with. Earlier, I think it was Cheryl who spoke about Ibrahim not getting excited, whoever said that. Why is it that it doesn't bother him? Because he knows who he is. It doesn't bother him. That's why they can't get to him. He doesn't give life to it. We have to have the same mindset. Yes, we live in the belly of the beast, but we don't have to be the beast. Audrey?
Aren't we kind of getting there? Because we've collectively decided that we're not gonna get out in the streets and protest or whatever, because that kind of gives life to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And we are getting there. This whole idea about not getting in the street and protesting and saying, hey, this is your baby, you rock it. That's because of our mindset. The ancestors did that because of our desires. So we're not giving life to what's happening by virtue of staying at home. So let's not give it life within us while we are at home. Does that make sense, Audrey?
Yes, indeed.
So when it is our private moments that count the most. Can you in private be the same that you are now? Your belief, your commitment, is it the same in private? What do you do when you talk to people and interact with people who don't see as you see, who don't understand what you understand, who don't know who they are? What do you do in their presence? Are you in their presence the way that you are in our collective presence on Saturday, Sunday, Mondays? Ask yourself, who are you for real? Who are you? Are you a mere man? Or are you Elohim? Are you the one who will die as mere men? As opposed to transitioning as Elohim, escaping this body, leaving this body, as opposed to dying as men? We're not supposed to die being human. We exit the body because we're Elohim, and it's time for us to become an ancestor. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And becoming an ancestor is one of the most glorious things that we could ever be. It's a struggle to be life in this environment. But it's not a struggle to be life as an ancestor. And the struggle is because of our condition. Or we are a heck of a long ways from where we were. There's no question about it. So, well, let me say this, then I'm done. There are things that we talk about that we never read, yet it's true, it's real. We don't do near as much research as we once did because the ancestors shows us, not just glimpses, but shows us the messages that we are to bring to humanity. Even as we talk today, this is in the macro. For the benefit of humanity. But guess what? It's also in the macro for us. So that when we are faced with challenges, we are able to remind ourselves who we are. When we are in a space that is discomforting, rather than seek comfort, we seek the understanding that we are supposed to get from this challenge or from this discomfort. What am I to learn from this? Because regardless of what you're dealing with, the ancestors are speaking. They are teaching us a lesson, and they will guide us through anything that we are facing. Any questions or comments? Ron?
Are we done? Anybody? Question, comment? Okay. Good place then to take a pause. We'll resume tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. if there's nothing else.
If there are any questions, please send a text to Ron, me, or anyone. Just send a text if you don't want to raise the question yourself. And we will respond to it. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank
Goodbye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.